We are jumping in. We are live. This is a live recording of the Somebody Like You podcast. And what we are talking about today is cultivating self-compassion and overcoming self-criticism. But before we get started, this is a sponsored podcast from our friends over at Somebody Like You Mental and Emotional Wellness Coaching, where we are connecting others with their highest, their best self, and understanding that development with their mental health and emotional well-being is not as far away as they think. The power lies within you, not other people. So at Somebody Like You, they act as tour guides along this mental health and emotional well-being journey. And it's your job to commit to yourself because the answer lies within you. All right, let's get this thing started. We are streaming live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. And if you are on my TikTok, you are live and you jumped in here. We had a little bit of a talk before we jumped in here. So thank you everybody who is moving over and jumping into the broadcast. We are jumping in and looking at our comments as we get started. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining. And this podcast is about cultivating self-compassion and overcoming criticism. And if you see me looking to the left or my right, I'm checking out my podcast notes. I'm trying to make sure everybody at TikTok is hanging out. So we are doing the dang thing. So let's talk about what is self-compassion. Self-compassion is the way you feel about yourself. And I'm not talking the way you think about yourself. Remember, what you think about yourself and what you feel about yourself are two different things, but they often are correlated with each other. How so? So self-compassion, I like to think of self-compassion as the way you talk about yourself. So how do you talk about yourself in your mind, in your head, when no one's in the room, when you're not on live, when you're not doing podcasts? How do you talk about yourself to yourself? So when you mess up, do you knock yourself down, call yourself an idiot, a dumb piece of you-know-what? Like, is that how you talk to yourself? Or are you more of a silly goose type person? Are you the kind of person that sits there and says, oh man, I am a silly goose. I shouldn't have done that. I know better. On to the next one. Because remember, in those moments of trial, error, learning, the way you talk to yourself is going to dictate the next time you quote unquote mess up, how you feel about yourself. So over time, right, if you're constantly beating yourself down, even if it's in a joking manner, right? Remember, words have power. So if your self-compassion looks like, I am an idiot, you're not an idiot. I am a dumbass, you're not a dumbass. All of these things, you say, I am somebody who is learning. I needed to do that in order to learn to do this correctly next time, because you're writing the story constantly. So remember, self-compassion looks like the way you feel and talk to yourself. Now, there is a difference between self-compassion and self-esteem. Self-esteem essentially comes from the place, and this is all, my opinion, how you look at yourself. So if you're looking at yourself and you're not confident in yourself, you're constantly looking down on yourself, you're constantly telling yourself that you wish you were somebody else, you wish you were doing other things. Remember, self-esteem comes from self-compassion. So the way you talk to yourself, the way you feel about yourself, and especially in those times of trial, tribulations, error, learning, that leads to your self-esteem becoming higher when those things inevitably are going to happen in the future. So in order to keep your self-esteem high, be so conscious of how you are talking about yourself, how you are thinking about yourself. Because remember, you control your thoughts. This is a big thing I've been learning recently, is I am not my thoughts. I am not the things that happen to me. I am not the trash getting picked up late. I am not the alarm going off earlier than I thought it was. I am the thing observing those things. I am the storyteller. I am the writer as well. So when you're having thoughts of self-doubt, negative self-talk, remember, you are the person that can switch that around, because you are the author of your story. You're also the reader of your story. You're the director. You're the producer. You are all of it. So remember, self-compassion leads to higher self-esteem, and that all comes from the story you are writing. And remember, you are one step behind it, that invisible veil of things that is happening. You're the observer. You're the awareness of it happening. So the thing you give your awareness to, your thoughts to, your power to, is the thing that becomes your reality. Boom. In my notes, it's saying briefly explain the importance of cultivating self-compassion and overcoming self-criticism. Being self-critical of yourself can be detrimental to your overall growth. And remember, when I say growth doesn't mean that there's a finish line. You're working towards this finite place on a spectrum or in this world. It's a forever thing. I think that's where we get caught up, is we're so self-critical because we think we should be somewhere else than where we are right now. The ironic thing of all of that is we can literally be nowhere else physically than where we are right now. We might spend all of our time trying to be other places, but right now you can only be here. So be here. And if you're spending that time being here by being self-critical, what you're actually doing is making the right now suck. That's up to you. Right now, I'm not saying things that suck don't happen. Obviously, they do. But that's where self-compassion comes in, that self-talk comes in, that self-esteem is going to be dictated by that level of suck in the past and how you handled it. So, what are we moving on to now? I want to share some personal times I had self-doubt. I had things that have happened to me that I had to be self-compassionate about. If you just recently saw anything on my platform, I was doing social media work for a company, and I was as a CEO. Oh, I wasn't the CEO. I'm sorry. I was talking to the CEO. I like to call him the big dog. I got along with everybody so well at this company, and they asked me to come back after my 3 weeks were up to do some social media work for them. At the end of my initial 3 weeks, I had an interview with the big dog, and the big dog spent an hour and a half in Zoom without his camera on, telling me every reason why he doesn't need somebody to do their marketing, their social media, all of this stuff. Specifically, it felt like he doesn't need me to do it. Totally cool. I understand my self-esteem is not affected or impacted by him talking to me like that. I'm very confident in what I'm doing, and whether it be my coaching, my social media, all of it. Fast forward a month and a half, I get reached out to by the head of talent acquisition. Hey, would you mind jumping on a call? We'd love to have you back and doing this kind of thing. Absolutely. I loved this talent acquisition person. So much good banter back and forth, just worked really well with them. I get on with this person. Wouldn't you know it? They had a head of social media marketing, director, branding, all of that join the call as well. And during that call, I had to get over the fact that that person is now in the role that I wanted, but I wanted to be a part of the company. This was somebody from Upwork, which is totally cool. I mean, Upwork's great. But anyway, they bring up everything that they have laid out for this. They have the pricing for what each person's going to do. They have what each role is dedicated to doing, all this. So under the social media management portion of it, it's at $45 an hour. And I said, dope, I am in, whatever you need, let's go. Even though I didn't agree with the platform and what they were doing with it. I didn't agree with the plan. I didn't agree with the brand. It wouldn't have been what I did, but I will do a lot of things that I don't like for $45 an hour, especially in the social media world. It's all whatever. In live time, the CEO then says, as he's sharing his screen, what did you say your rate was before? That's right, $27 an hour. And at that time, he, in live time, and now with an audience, cut $45 an hour down to $27. And I said, hey there, big fella. No, my price is $45 an hour for this project. And he said, no, I knew you would do that. I knew you would say something because I'm sharing my screen to sound like, whoa, is that how you operate behind closed doors? Is that what you do behind closed doors, is just blatantly disrespect people? Like, if you allotted $45 an hour, I understand from a business perspective, but that was your budget. You said you can do that. And in lifetime, you didn't have the awareness to, I don't know, treat me with respect. Anyway, so then after the call, this was another hour of just constant bullshit. I reached out to the head of talent acquisition and said, hey, you know what? I'm not going to put up with that. It's not part of admission I want to be a part of. And I drew the line in the sand. And ever since I said no, they reached back out, offered me 30 an hour, offered me to do more, offered a whole bunch of stuff. No, thank you. I'm fully 2 feet, 10 toes in the sand for mental health, emotional wellness, and coaching. That's my calling. But what have I learned from it on the topic of self-compassion, self-esteem, all of those kind of things? I drew a line in the sand for myself, and I still am proud of myself for doing that. It wasn't, obviously, I'm sure there's people in my life that have been like, take the money, we need it. I will not sell my soul. I will not be disrespected, especially when, as a freelancer and a contractor, that's my choice, right? You're not my boss. I'm the boss of me, in life, and not. So that is something I look back on, and I think like I said, I'm 10 toes deep in the sand about being respected. I want to join companies, be a part of stuff for myself that will make me proud of me. Something I talked about with my mom. My mom was just recently in the hospital. Everything is okay. Everything's wonderful. Not going to go deep into it. But talk about self-compassion, right? That's a scary moment, all those things. Anyway, we were having a conversation, and I said, the biggest thing that has been helping me recently with being self-compassionate and loving myself is always being in the service of my best self. What does that mean? Being in the service of your best self. What that looks like is, I think a lot of us, or I can at least speak for myself, I'm fortunate enough to know like the things I should be doing. And when I say should, I mean like the best version of me would want me to doing that thing, yada yada yada. If I don't feel like going somewhere, but the best version of me is like, no, like you would really love yourself and people would love for you to be there. Like do it, just show up the best of your ability. Like you want to be there, there's something in your head telling you no. Do that thing. Don't ask questions, and do it with joy, love, compassion, because you're in the service of your best self. And that's what I've learned is when I'm having doubts, when I don't feel like doing something, I ask myself one question: would my best self do this? And just, we talk about listening to your intuition, that gut feeling, whatever it may be. If that is instantly, yes, my best version of myself would do this, you do it. Don't ask questions. Don't talk yourself out of it. We talked about the mind. The mind's like a jigsaw puzzle. It's just trying to make things connect, whether it's good for you, bad for you. It's connecting stories from the past. It's trying to predict stories of the future. If the best version of you would do this thing, and it's in alignment with you, obviously it's your best self, you do that thing. No questions asked. The fun of that is the creativity that you do that thing with. So I don't like talking about myself all that much, but in my notes I said share a story. And that was the first story that came to my mind. So how do we overcome self-criticism? How do we overcome anything? Practice, commitment, and dedication. Hello, everybody. Everybody who is just joining the live podcast here on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, or TikTok. I want to say thank you for jumping in here as always. And also I want to give another quick shout out to the sponsor of this video and this podcast. And that is Somebody Like You, mental and emotional wellness coaching. Offering a really cool coaching gift for anybody, 50% off. Anybody who shares any one of my stories or any one of my Instagram videos, right? If you share it to your story, you will enter. I'm going to choose two people to get 50% off of live coaching. Just share one of my videos. And this is the key, not just one. I want you to share the one that connects with you and you think that will help other people. And we're back into it. Overcoming self-criticism, it takes practice, dedication. And I'm not talking like 1 week. I'm not talking 2 weeks. I'm not talking a year. We talk about this all the time on my channel, on my podcast, anything. It is a forever thing. So we need to get out of our minds that this is just, we're going to arrive and be like, it is done. We did it. Ain't how it works. It's a forever process. It's a forever progress. So when we finally get to that part where we are feeling self-compassionate, where we are feeling some love for ourselves, we're going to have to learn how to keep doing that. Because I'd say for the past 4.5 months now, I've been dedicated to working out and moving my body, right? Nothing serious. I'm not doing crazy things. I'm not training to be a Olympic athlete. But I know for my mental health, I need to make that a commitment for myself. And in those 5 months, when I say I have drastically improved my mental health, it is night and day. I was agoraphobic before I moved back up to Pennsylvania. I was not leaving the apartment down in Florida. And like that sounds dramatic, and it is because it was. I mean, if I left, I had to have my Valium on me, because just in case, right? I had to have water with me at all times, just in case I felt like I was going to pass out. I had a safe exit. I had to be driving with someone in case I wasn't able to drive home. It was bad, right? My panic disorder was serious, but I became self-compassionate by the way I decided to heal through that. And that was working out. But most importantly, it was just the way I talked and forgave myself for what is happening. Now, obviously, I did some videos, I've done some social media stuff to help others along that thing. But no one can really see what you're doing behind closed doors. It's really hard to present to people when you're in a place of panic, place of anxiety, a place of just being scared. So understand while you're going through this way of finding self-compassion and love for yourself, it's not your job or opportunity, or not your job or responsibility rather, to present to other people and show them how good you are doing. It's not your job to convince people that you're no longer feeling the way you were. It's no longer your responsibility to convince people that you're done that forever. We talked about in the beginning of the podcast. You're only here right now. Only this moment in time exists. Everything that happened in the past led you to this moment, and that is always. And this moment is going to lead you to the next moment. So how are you talking to yourself with self-compassion? Because I'll without a doubt, if I was super critical of myself, if I was negative self-talking myself, if I was doing all of those things, I never would have gotten through it. Now remember, you're different than me, right? You find that happy medium. It's like a sacred dance. You have to find out what works for you, because just like when you're watching whether my videos, or somebody else's videos, like mental health content creator or just any kind of creator, you identify with them for a reason. But if you're watching negative videos and you're watching drama videos, reality TV videos, stuff that's mind numbing, and you identify with that and you feel like this is what I connect with, take notice of that. Take notice that what you are connecting with right now is low vibrational shit. And that's not to say like you don't go like dive into some junk TV because you need a reset. But yeah, remember, if that is what is all consuming, if the algorithms are showing you mind numbing stuff that is drama filled, whether it be politics, religion, spirituality, anything, there's toxicity in everything. Remember, that's what you become. If you're consuming self-compassionate stuff or mindful stuff that's making you feel good about yourself, that's what you're going to become. Same goes with how you talk to yourself, the way you feel about yourself. Remember, the things you say about yourself and the things you say to yourself in times of heartache, in times of good times too, is going to dictate how you feel about yourself in the now, whenever that now is. So start now. Start today. If you're going through a tough time right now, if you're going through, whether it be a breakup, if you're going through loss of a job transition, health scares, anything, remember the good stuff too. Be mindful of how you talk to yourself and the way you think about yourself. So how do you do that? How do you become self-compassionate? What are practical ways to do that today? Do nothing today. I know it sounds ridiculous. Do nothing except be aware that you are talking to yourself. And when you do sit there and you go, oh, you dumbass, you don't have to correct it right now. What you need to do is be like, that's me talking to myself. I wouldn't tell my best friend, or maybe I would, but I wouldn't, if they were going through a really, really hard time. If somebody was going through a health scare, this and that, you wouldn't be like, listen here, dumbass, get out of your own freaking way. No, you would meet them with compassion. Meet yourself with compassion. But today, you don't have to change everything today. You just have to observe and see the patterns. Treat yourself like your own coach, right? I do this. I coach people. Ultimately, I'm teaching you to be your own coach, because I can't change anything for you. The magic happens when you change and believe things yourself. Us over here at Somebody Like You, mental and emotional wellness coaching, we consider ourselves tour guides. I'm on the tour with you. I'm the person being like, and look to your left. There will be a little bit of trauma being exposed from some past events, whether it be relationships, family, childhood. But that's what that is. And then on the tour guide, someone might raise their hand and be like, well, how do we get through that? And then I help them get through that, right? But I don't tell them how to do it. You have to do all of this stuff. So you have to be your own coach. And what would a coach tell themselves about if there was negative talk on a team, if there wasn't camaraderie within the locker room, if there wasn't, trying not to just use sports analogies, if there wasn't, whether it be dance class, whether it be in class, just school, if there was negative talk going on, if you were the teacher, the coach, whatever it may be, you would stop it. But like, that's not how we're going to get to our goals. That's not how we're going to keep progressing on our goals. What we're going to do is change the little things. I like to call that the low-hanging fruit. So what's the low-hanging fruit for today? If you're looking to experience and learn for ways to find some self-compassion, the low-hanging fruit is just observe it. You don't have to do anything. If you're watching this and you're thinking to yourself, like, I could never do that, that is self-negative talk. You can do anything, and I promise you can do anything. It just starts by the way you observe it, you talk to yourself, and the way you believe it. Now, belief doesn't come in an instant, right? I wish it could. I have to spend a lot of time with myself, with meditating and exercising and really shaping my mindset in order to get to that place of belief that I can do things. But what the first step always is just observation of how I'm talking to myself, how I'm believing in myself, and the way I'm talking about myself to others. I'd like to give some love to the chat with Chrissy. Magic happens in awareness. That is a podcast topic in itself. Magic happens in awareness because all we are is awareness. I'm not my physical body. I'm not my thoughts. I am the awareness of all of these things. Think of awareness as the all-encompassing ever universe, right? Universe is awareness. Universe is consciousness. Universe is so what are you conscious and aware of? Well, if you keep talking to yourself in bad ways and you keep talking to yourself like you're your worst enemy, you're your worst enemy. That's what you're aware of. If you're watching some trash TV and trash YouTube or Instagram, TikTok, whatever it might be, if you're watching, like, that's what you are aware of. And that's if you think of it like a radio station, that's the radio station you are tuned into. That is the frequency you are operating at. So be aware of it. First step today is just observe how you are talking to yourself and let the inner coach in you go from there. You will always let yourself know what you need. It's just the big part is observing it. You have to learn how to listen to yourself. What are you listening to? Because we've been taught and not taught that all we have to do is listen to our thoughts. Well, our thoughts are lying to us. Our thoughts have no ground to stand on. They're just things that have happened in the past that are going to try to predict the future and tell us what we want or don't want to hear right now. Remember, the two exact same things could happen to me and you, and we would think two very separate things, and it would change our lives drastically. Could come from the same parents, do the same things. We could be biological twins and do the exact same things with the exact same parents, and our outlook on life is going to be completely different. It's because our awareness and our consciousness isn't the same. What we're aware of is completely different. How we intake stuff, completely different. And that starts with self-talk, self-compassion, which leads to self-esteem, and that just opens up the road to everything. So as far as self-compassion goes, how do we cultivate self-compassion? How do we learn to freaking love ourselves? Dedicate to it. I'm not talking about dedicate for like we talked about. Dedicate for a week, dedicate for a year, dedicate for a month. No, this is a forever. I'm dedicated to myself always and forever. That is what I'm in service of. I'll have my good days. I'll have my bad days. I'll have my days where I feel like I'm not making any progress, but we're always progressing. Each and every second, every moment, we are progressing. How you think about yourself, how you talk to yourself, how you love yourself. it's all progress. Once you realize that, once you realize doing nothing is progress, it may not be good progress, but it's progress, you're going to start understanding that even the littlest of things in this exact moment are progress. Which way on the seesaw do you want to go? Do you want to start thinking about yourself a little bit differently? Do you want to just maybe look yourself in the mirror and give yourself a little bit of a wink? Say, I love me. I'm my best teammate today. I am everything I've always wanted to be. I just need to learn to tap into it. I am the best version of myself. I'm in alignment with the best version of myself. All of these things you already are. You just have to unlock it. And that's where the self-compassion comes in. You're not going to unlock all of these things by operating at negative frequencies. It's like, do you want to be incredibly happy, but you're listening to a podcast about how everything sucks, how the world's going to shit, how all of this, like, you're never going to be happy. You're going to believe that the world's going to shit and everything's wrong. So self-compassion starts with surrounding yourself by self-compassion things. Talk to yourself, love yourself. Remember, every day, every moment, every second is progress. It's up to you to decide which way on the seesaw you want to go. Now, it doesn't mean you won't go up and down. That's just what's going to happen. But you're in control of how much weight goes on each side in every moment of the day. Even when it doesn't feel like it, you are in control. What are we looking at here as far as time? We are at 11:56 in the morning. Everybody, if you are joining us on the podcast, I'd like to welcome you in here. If anybody is jumping in the comments and you are looking to talk about something specific, if you are working on something, you need a little bit of help on the coaching end, you let me know. I love to be able to talk. I love to be able to jump in here and talk with everybody in the community. I want to say hello to everybody over there on TikTok. Everyone jumping in here. Hello, hello, hello. So good to see everybody. Like I said, if you jump over to the Somebody Like You Instagram, I believe I have banners that I can show you where that is, and it's right there. It's Somebody Like You. If you jump over there and you share one of your favorite reels, posts, anything like that that you connect with and you think will help other people, I'm offering 50% off on my mental and emotional wellness coaching. And that is because I feel we all need a little bit of help. And by you helping me, by sharing content that you think resonates with you and might help someone in your life or somewhere else, there's the exchange of energy, right? I help you, you help me. I love the way that works. Also, if you want to jump, I say, here's my TikTok. Also, the only way I can really, I guess I can check on TikTok, see if people share my stuff. I see who saves stuff, but yeah, that is where we're at here. We're talking about self-compassion, overcoming self-criticism, and trying to talk about some things that, some examples that might help you out. I'm sitting over here, I'm like, yeah, we're going to go a full hour, no problem. I can do Instagram lives all the time. I can do TikTok lives all the time. I'm sitting here, I'm like, wow, the pressure of saying that I am on a podcast, it almost like adds to stuff, right? Rebecca loves this talk. I love this talk too. I love the rooms that are cultivated when we talk about self-love, self-compassion, how we can better ourselves. Something that pops into my mind right now is, what are your daily habits looking like? Because I know for me, when I was, I'm not saying I don't drink anymore. I just rarely do. And if I do, it's like I have like an old fashioned, right? I have one old fashioned, maybe two at dinner, and then I'm done. I look back and I realize that every morning after I was done drinking, I wake up hungover, whether I had the headache or the body aches, the physical ailments, my mindset changed all of the time. I had to work so hard to get back to just baseline. And I'm talking barely get to baseline. We have a comment here. Kelly, do you have any advice on beating addiction, finally at the stage of self-love journey, wanting to give up smoking, and especially the devil's lettuce? Kelly, first off, I want to say thank you so much, because this is such a huge topic, and you being vulnerable and being able to open up and ask for a little bit of guidance and a little bit of help, a little bit of coaching is massive, and that can help so many people. So I thank you so much for jumping in and asking this question. And I do have some advice on beating addictions. Remember, addictions give you the illusion that they're in control. Some days you feel really good, some moments you feel really good, and then all of a sudden it's like, remember how we say listen to your gut and your intuition? It's like it's tricking your gut and intuition to feel like that's what we need right now. That we need this. Then your mind starts wrapping around. It's like, yeah, we do. I want it. I need it. Need to have it. Is that in service of your best self? Right? And now we're meeting all of this with self-compassion, self-love. Is doing what your best self wants you to do, or being in alignment with you would do? And I said, remember, just listen blindly. Like, I know it's hard, right? I was a big devil's lettuce smoker for 10 years. My panic disorder is what made me stop. It like got to the point where like I had to stop doing it. With smoking in general, remember, you just have to get through it. They talk about in AA that you just have to beat it today. You don't have to beat it tomorrow. You don't have to beat it the next day. You just have to beat it today. I think that's a great mindset for when you're going through it, because when that addiction and that craving of anything takes over, it's a moment. It's taking over. It makes you feel like this is how you're going to feel for the rest of the day, for the rest of your life, if you don't do this thing right now. It's not true. It's tricking you. Your mind is tricking you. Your mind is always trying to trick you. It's trying to let you think it knows best. It doesn't. So Kelly, I would ask yourself in those moments, when I'm getting a craving to go do these things, would my best self do this? Now, cold turkey for everyone doesn't work. I used to smoke cigarettes too. I was more of a social smoker. If I was out on a job site, or if I was, drinking and those kind of things. But the best version of me gradually would stop. I knew it wasn't the thing that, and that's hard to say because I can't say I had an addiction to smoking. So that's where I want to draw the line. I want to be like, you can do what I did. I wasn't battling that demon of addiction for smoking. I feel that way about binge eating food. That's my addiction. So when I get to that point, I understand I'm going to relapse, or I'm going to, fall into it. But it's all on the topic of self-compassion. Yesterday was yesterday, and today's today. Tomorrow's tomorrow. What am I doing today? You just have to beat addiction today. Identify the little steps. So if we were doing a coaching call, right, what I would ask you is, what are some steps that you feel in alignment with that you have done and worked? And what are some things that have not worked, but you have done? And then from there, we just start building a plan around it. But most importantly, you start building a plan around it. And I guide you. I help. So that's my question for you, Kelly. What are some things that have worked for you? Some things that haven't worked for you? And today, are you going to beat addiction? Not tomorrow, not yesterday. Because yesterday, if you look back, you'd be like, damn it, I did it. Damn it, I did it. I'm so stupid. I shouldn't have done that. I knew it was going to mess me up today. I can't believe I did that now. I'm just such a failure. I can't believe. Do you see how quickly that can go south? Of course you're going to. Here's the connection, right? It's like a light bulb going off in my head. The connection is, when you are operating on that frequency, what's your coping mechanism? All of the things you just did, and it's your addiction. When we feel bad, when we feel like we're not good enough, when we feel like we're going through a tough time, our addiction is what rears its ugly face up. It's like, hey, I'll make you feel better. I've made you feel so good for so long. Why don't you just come back to me? So look at it this way. Well, what if you replace that thing that quote unquote thinks it makes you feel better, and you replace it with positive self-talk? You're in control. That thing's not in control. Just because it tells you it makes you feel good, you know it doesn't. Otherwise, you wouldn't be quitting it, right? Some people aren't ready to quit. I think once you're ready and you're like, I want to get through this, that's your best self saying, well, now that time in my life is over. I did that. I experienced it. I had to do it to know that I don't want to do it anymore. That's how I felt about drinking. That's how I felt about moving places. That's how I felt about dating people. That's how I felt about everything. Is I had to do those things to know that I no longer want to do those things. Because now I can be the best fiance I am. Hopefully become the best husband I will be. I had to drink all those drinks and have all those regrettable mornings and nights because I realized now I don't want to do them anymore. But without them, I would always be like, what if? What if? I could do it again. No, no, thank you. So that's where I look at it. Is what are you going to replace that with? And I think it's positive self-love. Just self-love. Realizing that the addiction and the thing are not in control anymore. And it's what we talked about in the beginning of this podcast is it's dedication. Because I think we don't understand. I know I can speak to myself. I understood hard work, dedication, but I thought hard work and dedication were just in sweat, blood, and tears. I didn't realize that like shit gets hard, and not giving up your progress for your best self or jumping off the wagon, whatever it is, it's so fucking hard to do. And then people are like, well, it can't be this hard. I have to be doing something wrong. No, my dad says this, and I like laugh at the simplicity of it, because there's so much more that goes into it, right? There's the feeling of like addiction, but like his thing is like, just say no. He was a smoker for years, and he goes, just don't do it. Don't think about it. Don't give your mind the power of I want it, I need it, I want it. And he's like, just don't do it. And I'm like, and I wanted to say, yeah, but like, you have so much that goes into it. There's emotional dependency, there's physical dependency, there's withdrawal. He goes, just don't do it. That's the end of the game. And I wanted to find a way, like as an emotional, like, and mental health, like wellness coach, I want to find like the empathy in it and be like, well, you have to understand. But there is a part of that is just so true. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you say to yourself, but like the whole point of it is not to do it. So you are winning every second of every day of every moment when you're not doing it. So if there's, I wish I knew off the top of my head how many seconds there are in a day. I should, but anyway, X amount of seconds in a day, you're not doing it. You're winning all of the time. And then there's, say, 1,000 seconds that you're like, oh my God, I need it. But there was 300 and some thousand seconds you didn't. You won 95%. My math is so off, but I think you get the point. You know what I mean? So you're winning so much more than you feel like. It's just those moments where it's simply tell yourself, just don't do it and I win. As bad as I want to do it, don't do it. I win. I just don't do it. And I know it sounds repetitive and it sounds almost like mind-numbingly easy, but Pops has got a point. Sometimes we overthink things and we look at places that are trying to sell us all of these things, whether it be patches and stuff, which all, there's stuff that's proven to work and all that. But at the end of the day, for whatever it is, it comes down to you and what works best for you. And if you just don't do it, you win. But understand one thing, it isn't easy. Rebecca, that is great advice for quitting my vaping. I've been cutting back a ton, but thinking of quitting completely feels like it will always be so hard. Thanks for a reminder that it won't. Yeah. Remember, it's just a gradual process with everything. We want everything. We live in a what is now. We need it now environment. The internet, if the internet page is loading, it's like, this is my Wi-Fi's done. I need to go upgrade my FiOS, right? That's not how it goes. Not everything needs to be done right now. What needs to be done right now is self-compassion, self-love, self-patience. Because the way you talk to yourself is what's going to happen tomorrow, in the next 10 minutes. It all starts with that seed. So understand, like, celebrate the things if you've been cutting back. That's in service of the best version of yourself. That version of you knows it doesn't want to vape anymore. Well, a snap of a finger, that makes it really difficult for some people. So enjoy the process, celebrate the process, celebrate the progress. You're crushing it, Rebecca. Keep doing that. The idea of withdrawal is scaring me, but I want to be free of all my coping mechanisms. I've managed to stop drinking the last 3 years. This is the next on the list, and I'll finally tackle food. Kelly, you're crushing it. Oh my gosh. You've tackled drinking? That's massive. The physical dependency on drinking is crazy. When it comes to smoking, find the stuff that works for you, right? But please just do me one big favor. Celebrate yourself. Love yourself. That is amazing. That's huge. Like that's where I think a lot of us get caught up on, is like, we always want the next thing. We always need to do the next thing. Once we finish this, we need to do the next thing. But we never look back and be like, wow, I fucking did it. And pat yourself on the back and like wear that as a badge of honor. Because right now it almost feels like we're wearing the badge of like, or it's like printed on our forehead, I smoke everything. Like I smoke weed, I smoke cigarettes. Like, no, I think the thing you should wear on your forehead is I overcame drinking, right? I'm tackling addiction. Addiction's not tackling me. And you're just knocking things off one at a time, and you are in service of your best self. That is crushing it. Man, I think that is just massive, massive. Look at all the support in the chat coming towards you, Kelly. That is huge. Remember, self-love, self-compassion. How's that start? It's how you talk to yourself. The story you talk to yourself, or the story you tell yourself, is a story that's being written. So the story that is being written from my eyes, if I'm talking to myself, is addiction doesn't stand a chance with me. Alcohol is possibly, and I don't have the numbers on this, so please take this with a grain of salt, one of the most difficult things to overcome. It is a different kind of addiction, alcohol, man, and you've overcome it. And if you haven't, and if you're like, well, maybe I just casually drank. If you have an addictive gene, you overcame alcohol, right? You tackled the big hoss. Now you're on to the other stuff. Doesn't mean it's going to be easy, but it's like you're leveling. It's like you're Mario, and you're leveling up, right? You're getting the mushroom, and you're like, woo, I'm big. I can do this, right? Keep doing your damn thing. That is awesome. So if anyone is out there struggling with addiction, struggling with whatever, and you have a resource or something that has worked for you, and throw it in the comments, throw it in, whether you're watching the recording of this, put your resource in there, because the whole purpose of what I do is to help others. And we are so much stronger as a team than just me, right? I think that's what I had to overcome, is thinking I want to save the world and save mental health and save everybody by myself. And because I didn't want to ask for help. I thought it was selfish. I thought people would view me as like, oh, you just want your podcast to get bigger. Yeah, I do. But the reason I want my podcast or my social medias to get bigger is to help people, right? I want to bring money in from them. I want to make money by helping people. Some people want to make money by being scumbags. I don't. I want to make money and make a living, and I want by literally creating positive ripples and having people help you. I want everyone to make money by helping people. I think that's what you should be rewarded for, is being a good, decent person. I like this. So we have a comment on here on the podcast, and one of my favorites, I say favorites, but everyone's my favorite, Rebecca. And don't only ask yourself, what would my best self do? Look in the mirror and say, I am my best self. Those affirmations. And that is absolutely true. So I do want to clarify that, because it's so easy to understand how I talk to myself. But then when you try to translate it to other people, it's kind of like, so I agree. I am my best self. It's almost as if growing up, you always like look to the heavens, or you look to whatever. Like I always look up, and I am that version of me. What I try to do is get on the same radio station, the same frequency as that. And it's like shooting messages back and forth. It's like, would you do it? Did you do it? Let's do this. Like we're teammates. My best self is me being my best teammate. If that makes sense? Always drop in the comments whatever you feel. Everybody, so happy to see you. If you were joining me on TikTok, hello. I want to say hello. That witchy mom, it's been so long. So good to see you. This is a live podcast. I want to shout you out and say hello. I miss everybody. It's been so long since I've been on here. Been doing the dang thing. If you are on TikTok and you want to jump over to my YouTube, that's where I'm broadcasting on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and always the selfless plugs. Selfish plugs, selfless plugs, shameless. That's the word we're going for. We're sponsored today by somebody like you, mental and emotional wellness coaching. You may ask, how'd you get sponsored? Because baby, I'm my sponsor. We do this, right? That's what we're doing. And I'm out here, I'm offering coaching, I'm doing all these kind of stuff. I keep saying we're 10 toes deep. We're in the sand. We are driving this home. We are committed to helping others. So let me know what you're committed to. Some of us are committed to overcoming things, overcoming addiction. Some of us are committing to helping others. That's my mission. Growing and helping others. It's huge. Some of us are on a spiritual journey. Some of us are on a religious journey. Some of us on a journey not to be judging other people. Some of us, if I could tackle them all at once, I would. But I think they're all connected, right? And I think it all starts with not judging others. Because this is something it's one of those things that, when you think or you feel and you finally understand, it like clicks. I had bad taste in my mouth growing up, right? So many jokes coming from that, but no. Religion, I didn't do well with. Spirituality, I found later in life. But I've been seeing Bible verses and this and that, and I'm like, wow, that's beautiful. I just wasn't ready to understand it from a different standpoint because my life experiences made me resent where I was hearing it from. So what I've learned is how people find love, joy, compassion, kindness, self-compassion, self-love is none of my damn business. I can only understand what feels authentic and in alignment with my best self. And it took me 33 years at that point to find it. And now I look at things from such a broader spectrum and not so narrow. There's no such thing as right or wrong, or a right way to do things and a wrong way to do things. It's all a journey. Some people are just on different journeys to finding love, compassion. Just because it doesn't look like mine or look like yours doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means people are still figuring it out, or they have figured it out and it's for them. And that's where I think the self-compassion is, because a lot of it comes to comparing ourselves to other people, comparing our journeys to others. That's where social media, podcasts, TV, all that stuff can be really detrimental to our mental health and emotional well-being, because we feel like we should be places. A lot of our dating, romanticized stuff all comes from movies that were produced, casted, budgeted, and manipulated for you to see them. And then we hold people and things to those standards. It just doesn't go for like relationships, it goes for everything. It could be addiction, what people look like in certain movies. That's what addiction looks like. That's how you get over it. Remember, everyone's journey is different. Don't rely on Hollywood. Don't rely on social media. Don't rely on everything. Rely on yourself to understand how to listen to yourself and what is your journey, because my journey isn't your journey. My job is to help you discover your journey. I think that's the best way I can put it. My job is to help. I love that you sponsor yourself. I do. I'm not gonna lie, I jumped in the shower before I got on this podcast and I started laughing so hard. I was like, I'm gonna sponsor myself. And when I tell you, like, I laughed really, really hard, I was like, I have to now. Like, this can't just be a funny, because my whole point to do this podcast, right, is like, I want to be authentically myself. I want to joke. I want to be loving. I want to be kind. I want to help people. I want to take away from feeling like I'm presenting information and make it feel more relatable. Like we're having a conversation. That's always what I want. And so when I was like, I'm just going to sponsor myself, and somebody picks up on it and says something, I'm going to laugh so hard. Because like when I said, I was just standing in the shower laughing. I was like, that's so clever. And now someone mentioned it and I'm still laughing and saying that's clever. But yes, it was so important. Stay focused on yourself and not others. Because how many times have you looked at somebody else and been like, wow, they're not doing it right. They're not doing it right. They're stupid. They're this and that. But they're so happy. They're like what bothers you about them is that they're happy and they're just not doing it the way you think it should be done. You're not doing it the way you've been told it has to be done. They're not doing it. They're just like beating at their own drum. We've all heard that. I'm like, oh, they're really beating at their own drum. Yeah, so are you. Except they're beating at their own drum and you're either envious, you wish it was you, and all those kind of things. Like that's that's what I've learned is we've all been put in this cage, and when someone's standing and dancing outside the cage, they're meant to look like a fool. Happiness, freedom, joy, love. Call me a fool if that's what that is, man. I'll tell you that. I'm on self-acceptance. Big step the other day. That journey was buzzing all my hair off. I'm not my hair. I am on the. What a cool moment. Rebecca, and this is such a good example for anybody who's just listening on Spotify or iTunes or anywhere. If you're not watching the YouTube video or seeing the comments, one of our listeners, Rebecca, the other day on the journey was buzzing off all of her hair. She's on a self-acceptance journey because she just said, I am not my hair. I am not my clothes. I am not what I present on the outside. And I think that is massive. We talked about that's such an alignment. What we talked about in the beginning of this podcast is we are just awareness. We are not this physical body. We are not the thing we see in the mirror. We are the thing that observes all of it. And when you are doing things like this to like prove to yourself, right? Like some of us need to prove to ourselves, like I am not those things. And by doing that kind of stuff, what it's in alignment with what we just talked about. Is like people might look and be like, wow, she's got some fortitude, right, to buzz off her hair. No, she's just in alignment with her best self. She's proving to herself that I am my best self. It doesn't matter what I look like, what I wear, what my hair looks like that day, blah blah blah. Like if I think it's getting hot outside, I want to shave my hair off, I'm gonna freaking shave my hair off because I'm not my hair. I am the thing. I'm just following the intuition that is in alignment with my best self. That is I can like, you can feel the juice flowing, baby. Whew. So proud of you, Rebecca. That is awesome. So very cool. But yeah, that is what this is all about. Whether you are going through a tough time in a job search, if you're going through a tough time on your self-love journey, if you're going through a tough time battling addiction, all of this stuff we covered today, right? On the topic of self-compassion and overcoming self-criticism. That's where it started. Self-compassion and overcoming the self-criticism. Because as long as you're compassionate with yourself, no matter what you do, you will love yourself for it. If you're being critical of yourself, you could do the best thing in the world and still find something wrong with it. Think about that. You could do the exact thing you set out to do, but if you're self-critical, you'll never enjoy it. But if you're compassionate, you might come up a little bit short, but you love the journey. You're proud of yourself for doing it. You hang up the phone from a bad phone call and you dance. You get out of the interview from a job that you felt like you may have fumbled. Get in the car, throw on your favorite song, and you dance. Self-critical, that's going to bother you for months, if not at least days, a week. My gosh. Which one do you want? To beat yourself up for months on end because you fumbled a couple words in an interview that probably wasn't in alignment with you anyway? Or do you want to go dance in the car and laugh at yourself a little bit? I'm laughing at myself. There was no one, I mean, this is speaking hyperbole, there was no one more self-critical than myself 5-10 years ago. I had to be the best of everything. I had to win at everything. And even if it wasn't a competition, I had to feel like I won at everything. Like if I went into the interview, I had to be, obviously this is what you want to be, the best candidate, but I had to be, it always was me not being myself, being whatever I thought somebody thought of me. I was being something that I wasn't. I was being I was being a chameleon. I think what this all can teach us is the self-compassion part is like, you don't need to be a chameleon. You need to learn to love yourself. You need to learn you for being you. And that's the ugly parts too. That's the parts that you're like, I've been hiding these for years because I've either was bullied as a kid. That's why I don't like Catholic school, right? I had a bad experience with religious because I was bullied heavily in school when I was just, 4th, 5th, 6th grade. So I hid things my whole life. I didn't want to be goofy. I didn't want to be theatrical. I didn't want to dance. I didn't want to make myself be silly. I wanted to be dark humor. I wanted to make fun of myself before anyone else could make fun of me. I wanted to I didn't say make fun of others. I poked jest at others and what was happening to lighten the load of the situation because I didn't like being made fun of in a malicious way. So I wanted to, like, if somebody did something wrong or did something like kind of boneheaded, I wanted to like crack a joke in a way that made the situation light. Um, but I'm an empathetic, silly, goofy, fun-loving person that is still working on loving that version of himself. Not always easy. But in conclusion, summarizing the points of this episode and to reiterate the cultivating self-compassion, overcoming self-criticism. What did we learn today? 1, self-love is a journey. There's no end destination. It's a forever process. The biggest thing you can take from it is dedication. I like the rule of thirds. 1/3, you're doing the absolute best you possibly can. You had the best workout. You had the best self-positive talk day, all that. The rule of thirds. 1/3, you had the best you possibly could have. 2/3, did all right. I feel like there's no movement, but you did okay. You did it. You showed up. You felt pretty good about it. The other third, you didn't do anything. You feel like you moved backwards. You talked to yourself poorly. You had a bad eating day. You had a bad workout day, this and that. Rule of thirds. As long as you have the thirds, you're always moving in the right direction, because there will be good days. There will be days I like to call push days, like in betting, and it's a push. And there'll be days that you feel like you fall backwards. But if it's all in rule of thirds, you are always progressing. Always progressing. My rule of thirds has always been, if I feel like this for 3 days, I need to make a change. If I feel like I'm having a bad day 3 days in a row, it's because I'm doing something that's making me feel this way for 3 days in a row. So that's a big point. Dedication, rule of thirds, self-talk. And how we can do it today is simply observing your self-talk today. You don't have to change it. If you feel inclined to do it, I'm not going to tell you not to. Simple way to correct it is to observe it and talk to yourself. It's going to feel really it's going to feel like slimy at first. You're going to be like, I don't talk to myself like that. Yeah, well, talking to yourself the other way has gotten to us where we are now. So it's kind of be like, I find it, I call myself a silly goose, or I'll be like, you're silly. Or I'll be like, that was a move, but I won't talk negatively about myself anymore. I won't call myself dumb, stupid, idiotic. I won't sit there and crack jokes to myself. I just won't do it. My TikTok has just been live. The banner has been up forever. Still working on this podcasting thing on this platform. So if anyone has joined throughout this podcast, jumped in, if you have been live with me on TikTok, have been live with me on YouTube and all this kind of stuff, I just want to say thank you for joining us. Thank you for jumping in here. And remember, observe your self-talk today, cultivate some self-compassion, and overcome that self-critic, because you are more than worthy of being loved, especially by yourself. Now, we're going to kick it out of here, and I will catch you all on the next podcast. If you don't catch this on live one, I will be releasing it on YouTube on Thursday, Friday, later this week, and you'll be able to catch the recording. All right, everybody, thank you for joining, and I will talk to you later. Peace and love, baby. End broadcast.